I don't like horror films. Okay, maybe that needs a little more explanation, but give me some time here. Stay with me now. I feel horror is one of those genres of movies that has such a clear divide on either I am absolutely obsessed with this thing, and if it has any amount of it in it, that regardless of if the reviews are bad, I'm gonna give it a watch and give it a fair critique. If you yourself are not in that particular camp, then you are in the only other camp, which is, I absolutely despise horror films because I am a massive walking pussy. And I just happen to be one of those walking pussies. There's a couple of reasons why I don't like horror. Probably in the same reasons why I don't like roller coasters. I just don't really enjoy that whole thrill-seeking feeling. I just don't seek entertainment in being scared, but that's obviously just a me issue, and I completely understand the people who love that kind of feeling in the same way that I understand people who love roller coasters. But in my lifetime of having watched a lot of movies and just consumed a lot of media, I have watched a couple of horror films or horror adjacent films that I have really enjoyed, regardless of how much it made me poop my pants. Things like the original Japanese Ring, the newest addition to, I think, fantastic horror films is Late Night with the Devil, which I'm pretty sure I talked about on my podcast. But when someone gives me a list of genres of movies or games or what have you, horror is usually not at the top of that list. It's not even breaking the top 5, to be honest. But I did watch a horror film just a couple of days ago, and I'm gonna use horror in big air quotations here because how you define horror is very dependent on who you ask. Because this horror film that I watched is not just a meat and potatoes horror. It's more, I would say, akin to psychological horror, potentially existential horror. I think some people will call that genre suspense, but to be honest, I'm not a cinemaphile enough to know or care, so please educate me down in the comments what exactly is the difference here. I watched it in the cinemas the other day, and I am surprised that not more people are talking about this film. Because even coming from someone like me who does not like horror or suspense all that much in my movies, this film was freaking awesome. And I think the biggest shocker is that it is a video game film, which if you know anything about, doesn't necessarily have the best track record for high quality movies. Granted, there are a couple, you know, I thought the Super Mario movie was okay. Sorry, I'm going off a tangent here. What was I saying? Oh yeah. I just wanted to make this quick video to, I guess, give my review or talk about, give you a recommendation, a film recommendation, of an indie, again, psychological horror, existential horror film based on a video game. It's called Hachiban Deguchi, or Exit Number 8. I remember seeing this game make quite a big wave in the indie horror game scene. And again, as much as I don't like indie horror, it's always nice to follow what the indie world is doing. Because, God forbid, people are very slowly starting to care less about all the AAA titles out there. The concept is very simple. A man has walked into a train station, and if you know anything about Japanese train stations, there are lots of different numbered exits. This particular person that you are controlling in the game needs to get out of exit number 8, but they've somehow walked into, instead, this kind of warped parallel universe time loop of a single corridor with all sorts of weird things happening to it and sometimes not happening to it. The whole point of the game is that you need to spot if there are any anomalies in the hallway that you are in to get to exit number 8, and every time you see an anomaly, you have to turn back. If you don't see an anomaly, then you can keep walking, and the exit number starts from number 0, and every time you get it correct, then it advances to the next exit number until eventually you hit exit number 8. It's essentially one of those like spot the differences kind of quizzes, except you are playing it in an existential horror setting that uses liminal spaces really well. So that game got really big, especially on the Japanese gaming side and just the indie scene in general. Got picked up by a Japanese production company, and bada bing bada boom, it turned into a movie. Which I remember seeing the poster of, and I remember seeing the trailer of, or just the name of it, and thinking like, hang on, there's no story in this game. Like, I don't know, there might be some kind of like deep lore in this game that I just don't know. I just did a casual playthrough of it one time, just for fun. and I didn't really gain any kind of story or anything like that. So already, we got two red flags here. We got video game film, which already is setting the bar pretty low, and then you, on top of that, are stacking it with the fact that you are basing a movie off of a game that seemingly has no narrative or plot or character progression or anything like that. It's literally just Tokyo, subway, liminal spaces, spot the difference, the video game. So I kind of postponed for a while, not really caring all that much. And then my wife was like, hey, you should actually finally go and watch this film because it is genuinely a good film. And I thought, all right, I'm out with her on a date. There's one late night showing right now in the cinemas, so let's just go in, check it out, see how it is. 90-minute film, which I appreciate because I swear to God, every fucking film nowadays has to be at least 2 hours long. So it didn't overstay its welcome, which I appreciated. But still, 90 minutes for a game that supposedly has no story, what the hell are they going to show? And well, I am going to backpedal on all of those predisposed ideas that I had about this film because my God, this film, man, it was fucking awesome. So let me try and break down exactly why it was cool without spoiling the film, because I do want you guys to go and watch it. Even though right now, I'm pretty sure it was only ever released in Japan. I have no idea if there's an international release or not, but hey, internet do be finding ways. So one thing immediately that popped out to me about why this movie was really cool was the way that it was shot. The cinematography was just really goddamn clean for especially an indie film. The camera work was very steady, and again, there were so many scenes that looked like they were filmed as one continuous shot. I mean, obviously, if you've watched enough movies and you have an editor's eye, you can see where the cuts are, but if you had no idea about it, it does look like just seemingly one shot for a lot of the scenes, and some of these scenes go on for like, you know, 5-10 minutes, which for a 90-minute film is a pretty freaking long time, and just that already I was incredibly impressed. Because again, if you've gone down the whole like liminal spaces rabbit hole, which I highly recommend, it's really cool. If you really think about like what makes liminal spaces so creepy, it's this entire sense of dread that something doesn't quite feel right, but nothing is happening immediately. So you're constantly just shoulders up, ears perked, southpaw stance, just waiting for something to pop out so that you can finally be free of this fight or flight instinct that you've been grasped onto. And I think the fact that, again, they left some of these shots hanging for a really long time, and also the fact that this movie is so fucking quiet. It is deafeningly quiet in some scenes, and it's just adds to that sense of dread and creepiness, which I actually really liked, weirdly enough. Another aspect that I thought was really cool about this film is the story, which this film actually did have. We follow this young man who is played by Ninomiya Kazunari, who, if you've watched films like Letters to Iwo Jima, you would know that he is a very good Japanese actor, even though he was originally a Japanese idol. Man is fucking talented, I will say that. He plays as this young man who is commuting to the train to work when he suddenly gets a phone call from, I guess, his girlfriend, partner, saying that she's pregnant, and him and her, clearly, this being an unplanned pregnancy, are like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Look, thankfully, I've never gone into that situation of an unplanned pregnancy, but if I did, I can't imagine the stresses, especially as a young man who is trying to get his life together. So already there is a motive for this character to start spiraling out of control psychologically, and I think that's what the whole exit number 8 phenomenon is. If you've watched the movie As Above, So Below, it's kind of similar to that in the sense that the exit number 8 phenomenon becomes this internal struggle between what the person is struggling with and those struggles coming out in, I guess, the real world, if you can call it that, and the person has to deal with or accept his fate or choose a path or make some kind of resolution mentally to get past said phenomenon. Which, look, you know, isn't exactly the most, like, original idea out there, but I'd say don't fix something that's not broken. So already there is a great motive. And mind you, this entire, I guess, breakdown of this character or the understanding of this character happens within, I'd say, the first 5-10 minutes of the movie. And the first 5-10 minutes of the movie is a continuous shot. So already you're like, ooh, what the hell is going on? This is like kind of weird. When you play the game Exit Number 8, which I highly recommend you do if you haven't, it's a great fun short indie game. They don't really give you any kind of explanation as to what is happening. You're just thrown into this liminal space, told these particular rules you have to follow, and then weird, creepy stuff happens until you beat said game. So it's really cool that in the movie, they decided to use this, like, internal conflict or, like, psychological struggle, or, I guess, the downward spiraling of a person's mental health to make that, I guess, the reasoning for why this Exit Number 8 phenomenon is happening. On top of that, they actually give a character to, you know, the guy who in the game is continuously walking down the hall, you know, the salaryman guy. Yeah, he's actually a character in this movie as well. And the way that all of these seemingly new and previous characters are implemented and interwoven into each other's stories is done in a really clever way. Another thing about this movie as well that I absolutely love, which I feel like not enough people give credit to when, you know, judging a film for how good or bad it is the sound design. I think especially in horror, it's so fucking important to have good sound design. Because if it sounds like shit, then it's immediately gonna throw you out of whatever situation you're trying to immerse yourselves into. Because the best kind of music needs to enhance an emotion in the watcher. And in Exit Number 8, even though the majority of the film is very, very quiet in terms of any kind of music or sound, I think them playing around with large changes in dynamics in sound adds to that creepiness. Like, for example, even though the first, I would say, 30 minutes of the film is relatively quiet, there are a couple of scenes that are just really abrasively loud. Not in like a jump scare way necessarily. I mean, there are a couple of jump scares in this film, don't get me wrong, but, you know, that doesn't like faze me all that much. But there is one particular scene where the main character stumbles into another version, a really fucked up version of the hallway, and basically just has this really powerful mental breakdown. And the whole situation of that scene and the fucking loud booming sounds that play over and over and over again just really add to that intense despair. It's so simple, yet so well done, in my opinion. And again, I feel like not enough people talk about the, I guess, power of sound in film. But I think it's just as important, if not more important, than things like cinematography or even like characters or stories or anything like that. Mind you, this is just a perspective of someone who doesn't know the first thing about fucking making a film. I just like movies and I like breaking down art pieces that I enjoy. So obviously there's a lot more I can say about this film, but I feel like that will go kind of into spoiler territory, and I do think you should try and watch this film blind. Now, mind you, my wife went to go see it twice, and because it is a Japanese film in Japan, there are no subtitles. But if you can understand, like, I'd say like N4, N3 level Japanese, you could pretty easily watch this film and understand what is going on. Hell, I would even argue that even if you don't understand a fucking lick of Japanese, you could pretty much get the gist of this film and still enjoy it just for the creepy and unsettling vibe. So yeah, go and watch Exit Number 8. It's a great film. I really enjoyed it, and I want to see more creepy existential horror indie films like this. If you guys have any suggestions, for example, of some movies I can check out, or even things like, you know, manga, games, anything like that, then let me know down in the comments below. And if you have seen Exit Number 8, also let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. In the meantime, you can watch a couple more videos from this channel if you want. You can also subscribe. Both would be cool. You know, that'd be sick. Bro, it's starting to get chilly in here. I've been wearing, like, indoor beanies now, and I freaking love it. So, anyways, have a good one, guys. See you guys next time. Peace.